Hello everyone, this is Richard, and today I'm going to do a review of a beer of a customer of mine that walked into my showroom, and when we got to talking about beers, he asked me to try this beer made in England, and it's called London Pride. London Pride. It's made by a brewery in England. In the UK, it's called Fuller's Brewery. Now this one is an ale, and a difference is, like, I've been doing reviews on IPAs, and IPAs are all about the hops. You know, the hoppier the better, double hops, triple hops. That's IPAs. Ales are all about the malt. So originally they started with having no hops whatsoever. So ales tend to be more golden, but this one is a little bit more amber. I've never had this beer before, so let me show it to you. Here it is. It's called London Pride by Fuller's. See that? It's got a really cool bottle. I like bottles that have the engraving on the bottle that you can feel it. It's also a different shape. It's not your typical Kirby Coca-Cola style bottle. It's just straight. But another thing you notice right off the bat when you just grab this beer is that it says here it's 12 ounces, so it's not any more than a regular bottle, but it feels a lot heavier, so that it must be heavier glass, because it just feels heavy. So that's one thing that's really cool about the bottle. It's and I imagine that, you know, London Pride, so they're trying to keep the tradition of this beer. But it's really cool. Let's try it and let's see how it tastes. Got my little beer glass here. Well, look how clear it is. See that? You can see me right through the glass. It's pretty clear, and I love the little bubbles. It's almost like a freaking champagne or something, you know. It doesn't seem to have much of a head, but I saw a review of it that a lot more head came out, so maybe it's just not in this one. Wow, this is very tasty. Very tasty. It's got what some people will call it, or especially people from the UK, they like this beer, and they agree with the name London Pride, because it's got a very distinguished British taste. And what makes a beer have a distinguished British taste? They have a caramel color and caramel taste. So that makes British beer, it's a little bitter, have that what they call distinguished British taste. So Fuller is a brewery that is in West London, and it was founded in 1845. It was a family-owned brewery till it was sold, like so many breweries, so many awesome what we call microbreweries are being sold to the big conglomerates. But thank God that with Fuller's, just like they done here with Karbach and St. Arnold's and Dogfish Head, and all those were originally microbreweries, and they were bought out by big multinational companies. So Fuller's was bought out by a gigantic Japanese company called Asahi. But again, thank God that they are allowed to maintain their creativity on beers. So they continue to brew the beer the way they brew it, with the taste they brew it. They haven't watered it down to try to get more people to like it, or any kind of crap like that. West London is a historical district of beer brewing. So even though Fuller's was in 1845, they've been brewing beer in West London for over 300 years. I mean, this is 350 years. This is like the era of Oliver Cromwell. So they have a rich tradition of brewing beer in this area of town. Back then, remember, we're not talking about US, where we're always expanding. We got more land, so you're going to brew something, you get a factory, a big warehouse, and all this kind of stuff in a commercial district. In London, you start a business, you start in a residential district. You start out of your house. There's no more place to go. So the breweries began they were not called breweries. They were just called, they were just homes, large homes that brew their own beer. So it was beyond microbrewery. It was a single home brewing beer. And some of them obviously grew into a bigger business, and one of them grew into what we now call Fuller's Brewery. So that's a pretty cool history of the brewery. So I took this, I got this picture out just so you get an idea of what this is. Look, this is in the middle of residential district here. That's the brewery right there. And it's pretty cool because, again, you're not drinking a beer that's being bottled in a place that looks like a chemical factory. Look at this. Ain't no more London traditional or European traditional look than this kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. And you can get this beer, I believe I got it at Total Wine. It's a big liquor store here in Houston. I believe you can also get it in Specs. So it's pretty cool this is the beer you're buying. It's a beer that's made in this town in the old-fashioned way. Now, this is a London Pride, which is the name of this beer, is an ale. So it tastes better the second time around. It is a little bitter because ales originally, when they came, like I said before, ales, that separates them from any other beer is the absence of hops. So they put other things that made it more bitter in order to balance the malts. But an ale, is more of a brown taste, brown color, sorry, and it's got much more flavor to it. It could be caramel, fruity flavors, nutty flavors. A lager, which is what the most common beer in the United States, which is a Budweiser, a Coors, those are lagers. They're much lighter, more watered down. Well, unfortunately, that's what we do it here. Much lighter in color, and they're considered to be crisp, so they're refreshing. That's what a lager is, a refreshing beer. So ales have much more flavor, and I think there's more room for be creative. But this is what's called a brown ale, and brown ale is a name that was also started in London a long time ago in the 1700s, and that was because they made this beer entirely with brown malt. So it made it much more brown than any other beer, and it became a brown ale. And so that's a little bit of the story of this stuff, this beer. you know, there's so many amazing beers in the United States that sometimes we figure, you know, hey, why we need to try that other stuff. Most of us actually do. We drink beers from other parts of the world, like we drink Corona. Is not from the U.S., it's from Mexico. And then you got Heineken. That's the probably most popular beer from Europe. But this one, I don't know why it has been ignored, because it's freaking awesome. And I bought it, and I think it was a 4-pack or a 6-pack. No, it was a 6-pack, and it was $11. So it was no more expensive than anything. And it's true, when you try this, even though I'm not from England, but somehow when you hear the word that this is got a British flavor, you can somehow agree, because of this caramel taste that you don't see it in American beers. So this is the bottle again. I'll put it over here so you guys can see. It's a cool looking bottle. I like the shape. It's like I said, it's heavy glass, so it's kind of cool. You can buy it in, you know, your big liquor store. It's called Fuller's London Pride. It's very drinkable. It's very drinkable. It's not something like a strong IPA or a stout. No, this is something you can drink eating a hamburger or a hot dog. And it's only got, like, I believe it's 4.5% alcohol, which is something also interesting about this beer. I've never seen this before in any other beer. Maybe that's the case, but I've just never noticed it. That this beer has 4.1% alcohol, or 4.4% alcohol in the bottle, but 4.1 or 3.9 in the can. So I don't know why is that. Maybe they give you a little bit more alcohol if you buy the bottle. So I don't know why. There's probably a reason, but I never noticed it before. But anyway, I hope you guys like this video. If you haven't tried this, it's definitely worth having a 6-pack in your refrigerator, because when you have buddies over for a barbecue, they're going to first say, what the hell is that? And then they're going to try and they go, wow, this is some good beer. So anyway, let me know what you think. See you later, suckers.